Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Exploration Hub. Imagine Earth thousands of years ago. No countries, no borders, no uniforms, no war generals yelling, "Charge!" Just humans, living in small groups, trying to survive. But somewhere along the way, humans didn't just fight animals. They started fighting each other. And that single change would shape the entire story of civilization. Because war didn't start with kings. War started with hunger, with fear, with territory, and with one ancient truth. When humans want the same thing, someone usually loses. Today, we're going back to the very beginning to discover how humans started fighting wars, what archaeology reveals about the earliest battles ever fought, and how war evolved from Stone Age raids into modern warfare that can be launched with a button. Why humans fought to understand war? You first have to understand early humans. Life back then was not soft. There was no supermarket, no food delivery. If you wanted food, you hunted it, gathered it, or stole it. And as humans spread across the world, groups began to compete for good hunting land, rivers and water sources, safe caves and shelter, animals, and fertile land once farming began. So early conflict wasn't always about hatred. It was about survival. If your tribe had food, and another tribe didn't, you were basically a walking food bank. Except there was no polite request, only spears. And if you think humans were peaceful at first, archaeology has some bad news. Earliest archaeological evidence of war. One of the earliest and most famous archaeological sites connected to human conflict is Jebel Sahaba, near the Nile River in Sudan. It dates to around 13,000 years ago. Archaeologists found a cemetery filled with skeletons showing signs of violence, arrowheads embedded in bones, spear injuries, and blunt force trauma to skulls. But here's the disturbing part. Some skeletons had old, healed wounds and fresh injuries, meaning they survived one attack, only to be attacked again later. That suggests repeated violence, not a one-time argument, not a random fight. This looks like early warfare. And Jebel Sahaba isn't alone. Another site, called Nataruk in Kenya, about 10,000 years old, revealed human remains with broken skulls, stone projectile points, crushed kneecaps, and bodies left unburied. Some of the victims were women, even pregnant women. This wasn't a duel. This looked like a massacre. And here's an even more interesting point. Many archaeologists believe climate and environmental change played a major role. As the world shifted, water sources changed. Food became harder to find. And when survival becomes uncertain, humans don't become kinder. They become desperate. What counts as war? Now some people ask, is this really war or just violence? Good question. Because war isn't just one person punching another person. War is organized. War is group against group. War is strategy. War is repeated conflict. And when we find mass graves, defensive structures, weapon injuries across many bodies, and evidence of raids, that's when archaeologists start saying, yeah, this looks like war. And over time, conflict began to evolve from small skirmishes into planned attacks, especially when humans settled down. Because when humans stopped moving, they started owning things. And the moment humans invented property, they also invented robbery. Farming created worth fighting for. When humans were hunter-gatherers, they moved around. But once farming appeared, humans settled. They built villages, they stored food, they raised animals, and suddenly there was something worth stealing. So raiding became common. A rival group could attack at night, steal your grain, take your animals, and disappear. This is also where we start seeing early fortifications. For example, the ancient settlement of Jericho in the Levant is famous for having one of the earliest known stone walls and a tower dating back thousands of years. Now imagine building walls without modern machines. That's not just vibes, that's fear, that's preparation. That's a society saying, somebody out there is coming. The evolution of weapons, the real game changer. Early humans fought with whatever was available, stones, clubs, and wooden spears. Simple. But then humans got smarter. They created tools, and then immediately said, okay, but what if we use this on each other? The bow and arrow was a major turning point, because now you could kill from a distance. You didn't have to be strong. You just had to aim well. And honestly, that's still true today. History has not changed much. Then came another huge revolution, metallurgy. Copper weapons appeared, then bronze, then iron. And with each upgrade, war became more deadly, because metal weapons were sharper, stronger, more durable, and easier to mass produce for armies. And if you controlled metal production, you controlled power. This is why ancient empires didn't just fight over land, they fought over resources, especially copper mines, tin sources, and iron deposits. War wasn't only on the battlefield, it was in the ground. When war became professional. At first, fighting was done by everyone. If your village was attacked, everybody defended it. But as societies grew, war became professional. Some people became full-time warriors. Leaders emerged, strategies formed. And this is where war begins to look more familiar. The earliest written records from Mesopotamia show conflicts between city-states like Lagash, Umma, and Uruk. And one famous artifact, the Stele of the Vultures, shows soldiers marching in formation. This is big, because it suggests organized armies, not chaos, not random fighting, structured warfare. The beginning of military discipline. In other words, war was no longer just fighting, it became a system. And from here, war begins to scale up, from tribes to kingdoms, from kingdoms to empires. Why war evolved, from survival to power. At the beginning, war was about survival, food, water, shelter, but as societies became more complex, war became about something else, power. Because when humans created kings, kings needed armies, and when humans created borders, borders needed defense, and when humans created wealth, wealth attracted enemies. War became a tool, a way to expand land, a way to control trade routes, a way to force other people to obey. In ancient times, empires rose through conquest. The Assyrians, Persians, Greeks, and Romans. And every empire had the same logic. If we don't conquer them, they will conquer us. It's basically the ancient version of, let me attack first before they attack me. Not the best mindset, but very common in human history. Why modern wars happen? So why do humans still fight wars today? Not just for food and land. Modern wars often happen because of ideology, religion, nationalism, political power, economic control, and resources like oil, gas, and minerals. In the ancient world, war was often direct. I want your land. In the modern world, war can be indirect. I want influence. I want control. I want your resources. And now, war isn't only fought with bullets. It's fought with drones, cyberattacks, propaganda, and economic sanctions. Sometimes modern war begins without a single soldier crossing a border. Just computers, just networks, just information, which is terrifying, because at least in ancient times, you could see the enemy coming. Today, the enemy might be invisible, and they might be sitting in a room with Wi-Fi. Crazy facts about war. Here are some fascinating facts most people don't know. Fact number 1. War helped shape human societies. It influenced leadership, alliances, technology, and even religion. Fact number 2. Many early battles may have been seasonal. Groups attacked when food was scarce or when migration brought rivals close. Fact number 3. Weapons weren't just weapons, they were status symbols. A warrior with a bronze sword wasn't just dangerous, he was rich. That sword was basically the ancient version of pulling up in a Lamborghini. Fact number 4. Modern war is often psychological. Sometimes the goal isn't to destroy an army, but to destroy morale, to control information, to rewrite reality. In other words, modern war isn't always about who has the bigger weapon. It's about who controls the story. Conclusion. So how did humans start fighting wars? Not because they were born evil, but because survival was brutal, because resources were limited, because fear creates aggression, and because once humans discovered that organized violence could bring power, war became part of history. And the scariest truth is this: war didn't disappear when humans became civilized. War grew with civilization. The more advanced humans became, the more advanced war became. So the next time you hear about ancient battles, remember this: the first wars didn't begin with empires. They began with tribes, with hunger, with territory, and with the earliest human question: is there enough for both of us? If you enjoyed this documentary, like, subscribe and turn on post notifications for more interesting documentaries. Before you go, do you think humans are naturally violent? Or did war begin because survival forced it? Drop your answer in the comments.